All right. Hello again, Tabletop Warriors, and welcome back to the channel. I'm gonna spend some time today trying to answer a couple of questions. I see questions on Facebook all the time on the Death Guard 40K website, so I'm gonna switch over to that. I'm gonna be looking at the computer a little bit, try to move back and forth between the computer and the camera, so don't beat me up for not looking at the camera. So one of the guys today asked, I guess it was a couple of days ago, he said, I had a 1,500-point army, got absolutely destroyed by Scions, which is Imperial Guard. I was running 3 Princes, 3 Rhinos with 5 Marines, 2 Plasma with Power Fists, and some Cultists with and a greater Blight drone. He got run over by turn 2, and he's wondering, how is he having such a hard time? And there was some pretty good answers in here. And I agree with some of them. A lot of times the Plague Marines just aren't as good as you want them to be. Yeah, they're cool, and you can take a lot of different options, and you can put them in the Rhinos. And I really like Rhinos. I have 3 Rhinos. I have 7-man squads of Plague Marines. I just don't use them that much because they're not that great unless you have an objective-heavy game that you're playing and you want some true objective holders. They do their best when they're just sitting in one spot, trying not to get killed, because they have a lot of survivability. Their offense ability isn't all that great, but they do have some survivability. So I'd say one of the things is maybe cut down on the amount of Plague Marines you're taking, and then possibly look at some bigger units like the blow drones or whatever to start taking out some tanks. One of the Death Guard's problems is they don't have a lot of tank kill availability unless you take like a what's the word I'm looking for? Unless you're taking the Hell Blaster, the Hell Brute with some las cannons and some other tank busting stuff, or some more of the blight launchers that can take down some things. So trade in some of those Marines for some more tougher units, maybe a crawler or 2. To work on busting tanks, because that's what IG thrives on, tanks, right? 5 Marines against tanks or 15 Marines against tanks, not going to last very long. So as much as I like Plague Marines, I'm not as much of a fan of them when you're going against heavy armor. You need heavy weapons. Another question a guy asked, he said, this is kind of a new question, but is it okay to paint my other units that aren't Death Guard in the Death Guard colors? And absolutely it is. You can paint your units whatever you want. I have some Havocs that I paint in the Death Guard color scheme just because I like to use them once in a while with my Death Guard. So I think that's it's certainly up to you. You can paint them gold, you can paint them pink, you can paint them whatever the case may be. You don't even have to paint your Death Guard in Death Guard colors if you want to pick another color. You paid for the army, you paid for the models, paint them however you want. That's the key to the game, man. You paid for them. Nobody's going to turn their nose up at you. And if they do, they probably didn't want to play that guy anyway. Those traditionalists or people say, oh, they got to be painted a certain way. That's garbage. Paint them however you want. Let's see. Couple of more questions. So if you roll a 6 when rolling wounds, that means all the wounds that weapon does are mortal wounds, or just 1 mortal wound and the rest is regular? This question got answered pretty well. Obviously, mortal wounds are only when the character has the ability to use mortal wounds. What you roll on the dice doesn't necessarily mean that it's mortal wounds, but good question. Got answered pretty good on the site. How's it going, Saddam McCoy Jam? I see you out there. Thanks for stopping by. We're just trying to answer some questions here on some Facebook questions. I see these questions all the time, and I try to get to some of them in the videos, but I don't get to all of them in the videos. So every once in a while, I'd like to answer some questions. Hey, Alex, how you doing? Me eat your bottom like a burgers. All right. Well, that is an interesting comment. I appreciate it. Appreciate the feedback, Saddam, if that's what your name is. McCoy Jam. Got it. So somebody asked for, I'm returning to the tabletop world for the first time in about 10 years and been watching all your videos. Figured I would hop in here to learn some things. You know, I just try to make videos that are helpful to people, not haulers, crawlers. Yeah, the haulers, yes. I just try to make videos that I hope are helpful to people. For the PVCs, what do you all recommend? The heavy stubber or the Roth Hail volley gun? I think I talked about this in my video. It really doesn't matter. They do most of the same thing. I like the stubber, but the Roth Hail volley gun is good as well. So I like some of these questions on the Facebook page that people write. Do you like hentai? No, I'm not much of a. Is that anime? I think that's anime, right? Or sort of anime. I'm not really into the hentai, but I know that some people really like it. Yeah, not really into the anime porn. I'm pretty old for that. Thanks. Appreciate it. Your videos are very helpful. I appreciate it. Like I said, I just try to make videos, not super competitive. I just try to make videos that help people to figure out what their best thing is for their armies or what they want to buy or whatever. Like I said, I don't do tournaments or anything. I just play for fun. And age is just a number, my friend. So you've been playing for 40K for 6 months. Do you play any other armies than Death Guard? I do. I play Blood Angels. So I do have a couple of videos up with some Blood Angel characters. That was my first army, was Blood Angels. I really like the Death Guard, Sanguinary Guard. I really love the Blood Angels characters. So I do have 2 armies, one Imperium and 1 Chaos army. I originally started out too in Fantasy. I don't know if you guys remember Fantasy, but I played Chaos Warriors in Fantasy too. So Vasco, you started with Death Guard 6 months ago. That's good. It's a good army to start with. It's a good place to kind of learn the ropes, and has a lot of options. You have Thousand Sons, Imperial Knights, and Astra Millennia. Those are all good armies. You've been spending some money in the last 6 months. I can see that. So let's see. I answered some questions earlier. Somebody was talking about taking a lot of Space Marines in their army. They had 3 squads of 5 in Rhinos. I'm not a big fan of the Space Marines. I'm sorry, the Plague Marines. I think they're good. I think they're good for holding objectives, but I don't think that they're great for doing a lot of offensive stuff. They do their best when you just set them on an objective and try to hold that objective down, using their disgustingly resilient and saves and extra toughness. It's a little difficult because you have melee. I'm just looking through I like this Facebook, the 40K Death Guard players, Plagues and Marines. They do a lot of good stuff on the what? Saddam. Do I like age is just a number, my friend? Do you like the Terminators? So I do like Terminators. I did a video on Terminators. I'm not a huge fan of the Chaos Terminators. I don't think they're as good as the Imperium Terminators, but the Terminators that are specifically the Plague, the Death Guard Terminators, I think that they're really good. Hey, Ava, how's it going? Oh, come on, Saddam. That's probably not the best, bro. I'm playing with my friend, and he has Dark Angels and shoots very 30 inches with my melee. It's not easy. Yeah, that is a problem with Death Guard. You really want to be up in people's faces with the army. They don't that's probably one of the weaknesses, is going against real shooty armies. Like I said, I would get a couple of Hellbrutes. Hellbrutes are a great way to bring some missile launchers and some las cannons to bear on shooty armies. Look into some more units that take the blight launchers so that you can have some more range and stuff. The plague burst crawlers are good to just kind of extend your range a little bit. I don't usually use Morty. I'm a big fan of Typhus, and I'm also a big fan of the unnamed characters. Like, I know Lord of Contagion got a good point reduction. I think he's great, although he doesn't have that range ability. I do think he's really good. Do you ever run unreleased demons? I'm not sure I know what unreleased demons. I'm not sure I understand what that means. You mean like do you ever Nurgle demons? So I do have a couple of a Nurgle demon. I bought the box set that has the Nurgle demons, and I've considered taking some detachments, but the point, it gets up in points there pretty quickly, and I like to run mostly Death Guard instead of the demons. But I do have some Nurglings. I have some Plague Bears. I have the guys on the flies. I can't remember what they're called. Where's those guys? Oh, I don't have them out. But the riders. So I do have a detachment that I could probably make of demons. I've tried the summoning thing. Somebody was asking about the summoning thing on Facebook the other day, and I think that summoning the demon or the demons in is good. If you're playing like a casual game, it can be really fun, but if you mess up the roll, that's a lot of points to have on your bench. If I did, I would run them as part of a DG, like a detachment. What's the main purpose that Nurglings have in an army list? Well, if you're going to use them, the main thing is just like the Plague Marines. They sit on an objective, or a lot of people use them to tie things up because they have a lot of wounds. So if you're going to take a detachment of demons and use Nurglings, having them tie up a tank or having them tie up some other vehicle for a couple of turns that you're not getting that vehicle, if that vehicle is not shooting at you for a couple of turns, they're mostly sacrificial. So objectives, and tying up big units that you're afraid of. So if you can throw 3 or 4 Nurglings at a tank in IG and tie that tank up for a couple of turns, it can't shoot. You're winning. Even if it's just for 1 turn, even if you just charge it and it has to take that turn to back out of a combat because they're hard to kill, that's 1 turn that you didn't get shot at. So I do like demons. I've never been a huge fan of, do I run many transports in my Death Guard list? Transports is in, are you talking about, I'm sure you're talking about rhinos. And I was just actually discussing rhinos a little earlier. The rhinos aren't as great in 8th edition as I think they were in like 5th edition. I don't tend to use a lot of transports, maybe 1 or 2, just because I want to get, if I do run Plague Marines, I want to get them to the objective as quickly as possible. Get them to the objective as quickly as possible and just kind of sit them there. If you're going to run rhinos, you're just going to have to say that you're running them knowing that they're going to get blown up. I mean, they don't do a whole lot. The best thing they do is transport your Plague Marines to where they need to go. And I was always a big fan of the Land Raiders, putting units in the Land Raiders, but anymore in 8th edition, they're just so expensive for what you get. You do get some good shooty out of them, but they're so expensive for what you get as a transport. What are your thoughts on third-party minis from companies such as Creature Caster or Spellcrow? So I think using different minis from different parties is great if that's what you want to do. Make sure you just tell them it's a counts as, or I'm using this model for this. I think you should be able to do whatever you want to do. I mean, you're paying for the models, use them as long as they're remotely close to what the original looks like. It has the same, what you see is what you get, war gear and stuff. I'm a big fan of some of the other characters and minis from some of the other companies. And if you want to use those, as long as you and your opponent understand exactly what they're being used for and they have the same war gear, I think they're great. How do you stop your PMs from getting shot up? Well, stopping your plague marines from getting shot up is very difficult. I mean, you're just kind of going to have to count on their toughness and their disgustingly resilient, put them in a rhino, stick them on the objective. The person, your opponent, has to get through the rhino, and then they have to get through the 5 or 6 or 7 plague marines that you're using. They're basically there to just draw a lot of fire and sit on an objective. If you want to trick them out, I know some people like to put plasma on them and stuff so you can take some shots. That's great. But it's very difficult to they're there to basically get shot at. So there's not much you can do. You can use some spells, maybe some psychic abilities to put the miasma pestilence on them, so they don't get the so they get the -1 to hit. But that's the best you can do. Line of sight and cloud. Yeah, exactly. Line of sight and cloud of flies. Right. Plague burst crawlers, I think, are great. Predators are good, but again, you have to decide what it is you want to do with your army. If you're going to use predators and your meta has a lot of shooty, like a lot of IG and that kind of stuff, you're going to want to use predators. If you want to use plague burst crawlers against armies that are less shooty, that's great too. I mean, they're definitely good to just move up and start taking out units, but predators are very good for sit in the back. What's your view on cultists with poxwalkers? So I'm a big poxwalker fan, not so much the cultists. I guess part of me says that that's because I like the Death Guard poxwalkers. I like to use them with typhus. I like to have them walk around and do their things. Plague bearers versus poxwalkers, I definitely would take poxwalkers. I've never really used cultists, but I think they're pretty good. Icon of Despair. I don't have a whole lot of experience with the icon. What about a Poxwalker Shield and Methetic Blight Hauler trio? So my first couple of units were the Methetic Blight Haulers, and I thought they were really good at first. But then I kind of sort of realized that they're trying to do a lot of things because you have that short distance, long distance shooting. I think they're good if you just want to take them to go kind of about the board and do their own thing. I'm not sure if they're really good individually. I think you have to take the trio. That's a tough call. I know that they give the Poxwalkers cover and moving them up, but I don't like the missile launcher, plasma gun, or plasma combo. 10. I think Poxwalkers need to be taken at least 10. I would prefer, I think the maximum is 20. Let me get my book real quick here. Make sure I remember. But I think the maximum is 20. I know they're mini dreadnoughts, but is this it? Yeah, this is it. So I know they're mini dreadnoughts, but you're talking about the blight haulers or mini dreadnoughts, right? I mean, they got the missile launcher Multimelta. So missile launcher's really far and Multimel is not very far. So what do you want to do? Do you want to, you have a gun that you're not really being able to shoot? It just makes them awkward, I think. It's not that I don't like them. It just makes them awkward. And I know they get to putrescent fog and you can move them all together. They're good. I'm just not a super fan of them. Poxwalkers, as many as you can take. If you're going to take Poxwalkers, I would say take Poxwalkers as many as you can take. I think you want to get that 10 because you get the bonus for the 10. You add 1 to all hit rolls for this unit in the fight phase if it contains more than 10 models. So Death Shroud. Yeah, Death Shroud. No, you're talking about the Blight Hauler, right? You know, the putrescent fog, the putrescent fog. Well, thanks, Scott. I appreciate it. Do poxwalkers have to be paid for reinforcements when using the walk-on? Yes. So they pretty much ruled that everything now has to be paid for with points. Yeah, but plague bearers are demons, so you have to put them in as demons. You have to use a whole demon detachment or summon them in. So that's, I mean, when you have a Death Guard army, poxwalkers are better because you can use them as your troops in your detachments. If you're taking plague bearers, you have to have either summon them in or have a demon detachment. $60 poxwalkers is good. I like typhus with poxwalkers. I think they're great. I think in big numbers they can really do a lot of damage. People are scared of them, but you know, it's just up to you how many you want to do. I think the maximum is 20. I think you can only do units of 20. I'd have to look that up and remember, but I think you can only do maximum of 20. Yeah, so I appreciate the questions, guys. And again, I'm going to try to do this every once in a while, where I just I see a lot of questions on the Facebook, Reddit, and people ask specific Death Guard questions about their armies, and try to answer some of the questions and maybe answer some of your guys' questions as we go. I appreciate the. Do you have success running solely Death Guard, or do you do better having allies? So I usually just run solely Death Guard and not use any other allies. I like the Death Guard army. I think it does fairly well. It's not a super competitive. It's not a super competitive army. I mean, I know that one guy had the success with the Plague Burst crawlers, but since they've kind of nerfed that to where you can only take so many. But I like the Death Guard. I like the flavor. I like the fluff. But again, when you're doing it, it's all about having a plan. Like I say in my videos, have a plan before you go in there. Know your meta. Know the people around you and what armies they play and what they really like to use, and build your army to kind of counter that. Yeah. So if you want to take Nurgle allies in a detachment, they're great. I mean, you're talking about demons, I assume. They're good. It's just depending on how you want to do it. It does take up a detachment. It takes up more points. You're right. Lots of synergy. There are some HQ units in the demon army that are really good, and they do work really well with Death Guard. So, and again, guys, I appreciate the feedback. I don't want to make this video super long. People don't tend to watch live videos that are ridiculously long. But I wanted to answer some questions, and please feel free to ask questions on my videos or on my Facebook page. I have a Facebook page, the Plague Den, where I haven't done a lot in a while, but I'm going to start posting some more pictures and some more videos up there. I'll put this video link up there, and you guys can ask questions on that. And again, I like the 40K Death Guard players, and no problem. I appreciate you guys' support. It definitely helps out doing these videos, because I haven't monetized anything yet. I'm still doing all this for just the joy of doing videos. I've kind of fallen off 40K over the last few months, kind of gotten distracted with other things. I've been trying to get back into it. The play group that I was playing with here, and I live here in the South. the play group that I was playing with kind of disbanded. We don't have really a place to play anymore. So I've been trying to work on finding a new place to play and working on the army a little bit and making some more videos. So the support really helps. I appreciate it. You guys have a good one, and hope you guys have a happy new year, and we'll catch you next time.